Hello and welcome to Meet the Founder here at modl.ai, the video series where I sit down with the key players who have been instrumental in making the company a reality. I'm Thompson, and in this episode I sit down with Benedikte, who is the head of product for the company. Let's get started. So Benedikte is a co-founder of modl.ai and the head of product. You're very much at the helm of what the company has to offer. So I guess my first question for you is, how did you wind up here? Why did it make sense to start the company as you did back in 2018?
I don't think you start on anything if it makes sense, basically, no. I mean, we've been talking about how we could utilize AI for development for a very long time. And it sort of seemed as if the time was ready, like the technology was mature enough and that the industry was ready to work with AI for tooling and not just as NPCs within games. I mean, we could see it working, right? But we could also see that larger companies were taking steps internally to do these kinds of things, using testing, like testing with bots, for instance, or evaluating game contents with AI. So if the big ones were doing it in their experimental setups, there was a possibility that this could be useful for mid-tier or smaller companies as well. And the ones who really need this kind of technologies are probably the ones that don't have this manpower of 1,000 people behind them, right? So we've been in game development and we know that testing is tedious and there are a lot of tasks that are quite time consuming. So even though game development is fun, there's also a lot of stuff that isn't fun, and that we could alleviate some of that, not pain, but cumbersome work with AI.
Historically, we're so used to the idea of artificial intelligence being used for gameplay systems and things like non-player characters, but back in 2018, the idea of using AI to support game development in other areas, which was what modl.ai was providing, was still quite novel. How confident were you that this was actually going to work out as you'd hoped?
One thing is that the games are often art projects, even if it's large projects, right? And everyone's doing something that is special, or at least feel that it's special. So finding a way to work with AI with a sort of generality that you can work with, I think that was a concern, right? That everyone needs special solutions, and they do in some respect, but there are also problems that everyone is trying to tackle that are the same across the industry. But figuring out where that sweet spot is, where it's general enough to be applicable for a lot of game studios, but still being able to customize it to individual needs. I think that's a challenge that we see and that we're looking to address.
You know, thus far we've talked about modl.ai, the company, but we haven't had a chance to talk about yourself. So let's wind the clock back a little bit. What was your journey? How did you wind up working in game development?
I think as many, I started in game development by coincidence. I started out studying architecture and was interested in design. And then I'd always been doing sort of computer stuff on the side, programming a little or doing computer graphics. And at some point realized that buildings are complex and difficult. So I thought I'd move to IT because that's definitely not complex and difficult. And then I ended up at the IT University in Copenhagen, started on a product line for IT, basically, products, digital products. But then they started a line specialized for computer games. And I'm not actually much of a gamer myself. I do play mobile games, but I'm not a huge gamer. It was really interesting to work on projects where you work very multidisciplinary. And I think that's really a key to game productions, that you have so many different functions working together. And that's quite exciting. And that actually, with a rather small team, you could, at least back then, you could make quite exciting projects. So that's how I ended up in games. After graduating, I started working, we started a company which was doing consultancy, making games for learning and for communication purposes. That really meant getting into game production with a lot of different stakeholders. And yeah, I don't know, at some point that morphed. My partner started working with AI. And then we started talking about how we could utilize what he was working on for the development, and I guess that was how we segued into to modl.ai.
You know, it's interesting to hear that you're interested in the multidisciplinary nature of game development, and now at modl.ai you're helping provide a tool to essentially support that structure through the use of artificial intelligence.
If you're building something for testing, you will be building a product that needs to be used by the QA department. But in the end, also the programmers, game programmers need to understand the results from the testing. So it still hits that multidisciplinary user base. And the same for like the game, like the player-facing bots. They still meet different players and they still touch upon different aspects of the development process. You still have to address the game designer. You still have the programmer involved with getting them up and running, working. So I think we're still touching upon the multifaceted aspects of game development, even though, as you say, yes, the products are targeting quite specific issues or problems. They still need to work for different people or different users.
You know, from chatting with you, I've noticed that you're far less interested in the idea of using AI to replace developers, but rather using it to create tools that are going to support developers. I guess, what's your perspective on how the product at modl.ai should actually support around existing development teams?
Typically, when people are talking about AI, they're also talking about, of course, replacing human labor. And I think to some degrees, that's correct. You're replacing some parts, but what we're looking to replace are not the parts where the enjoyable work, honestly, right? It's for instance, for testing, it's the testing where a tester would be banging into walls continuously in a level to make sure that there aren't any geometry errors that you can fall out through, for instance. This isn't the kind of work that's engaging. And there's a lot of that, right? People are building games that are bigger and bigger. There are larger games where you need more NPCs, more game-playing characters present.
And so now here we are, modl.ai is going strong after 4 years. I guess from your perspective, what's been the highlight during this formative stage?
I haven't been a part of something where we built for having a larger team. That's quite exciting. Working with a lot of really smart people, that's exciting. But I'm also excited about some of the things that our product is doing that I wasn't expecting, or it's doing it sooner than we expected. It is a little magic. I mean, even though like it's not magic, AI, it definitely isn't, right? It's quite straightforward, but it's sometimes surprising when you get results. When we're with the testing bots, for instance, when we've been testing on client games and you find bugs that the client didn't know were there, and it quite clearly is there, and the bot keeps repeatedly finding this issue. That's kind of exciting. We've been working on content generation, making content that actually gets into games as well is quite thrilling. It's thrilling to hear someone say that the game playing bots that our team has made has actually made their game a lot better, and that they can feel that the bot seems more realistic in the way that they're playing. That's really cool. Okay,
time to look into the future. What's the thing right now that you're most excited about working on for the company?
I'm very much looking forward to us productizing what we have more so we can get it in the hands of more people, particularly because I want more feedback on what we're doing. So it might not be the full fledged, it can do everything in the world, but having the plugin out there so that people can start putting it into their game, and really having that first version of the testing system in the hands of a lot more developers is what I'm looking forward to.
And yeah, once those tools are out there, you're going to get a lot of feedback. Are you ready for that? Like, what kind of feedback are you hoping to get from developers once it's in their hands?
You're never ready for it, and a lot of the feedback you get, you knew that you needed to fix that anyway, and you get that back in your face. But then there will also be all these surprises of things that we didn't think of that may very well turn out to be like the key thing that makes a difference for people. So yeah, I'm keen to get it in the hands of more people for that reason.
So clearly getting the product out to people, letting them try it out, getting their feedback, that's a big priority for you. I guess, are there any other big priorities that you have for modl.ai over the next couple of years?
It's not just about getting it in hands of a lot of people. We are also looking, of course, to get it into a lot of different games. Getting into a lot of different games also give us the opportunity to collect data that will help developers make better bots. We are looking to build to make it possible for developers to easily make imitation learning bots, for instance, both for testing purposes, but particularly also for in-game bots, players. And so it's going to be exciting to start getting that kind of data and really build up our engine and the models that we have in the background so that they can be used across different games, but also across different studios. So the learnings we have from one game can benefit another game. That's sort of a big perspective for what we're working on.
And all right, here we go. Last question for you. Modl.ai is now becoming a serious contender in artificial intelligence middleware for game development. From your perspective, why should developers be reaching out to you? What is it right now that Modl.ai provides that no one else can contend with?
I think we're special in the way that we both have a very, very deep understanding on the team of AI research and what's sort of at the frontier of AI, coupled with the fact that we also have a background in game development. I see a lot of AI solutions out there that do not cater to the fact that they need to go into game production and they need to work in the environment that the developer is working in. I think we come in knowing that, and I think that changes the way that we are making solutions because we are thinking in terms of the game development process first.
And that's us for this episode. Special thank you to Benedikte for taking the time to chat with me, and of course to all you lovely people out there for watching this video. Stick around for more here at Modl.ai as I continue to interview many of the other founding members of the company as we talk about the past, present and future of both Modl.ai and artificial intelligence for video games.